Welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I'll be going over one of the key concepts that I leverage for my entry, and that's OTE, optimal trading entry. This strategy essentially has provided me accuracy and precision on all my entry for doesn't matter which PD arrays I use. This essentially give me precise entry. If you take a look on all my trade that I posted in X with Twitter, one on YouTube, one on Instagram, all my entry usually are limit order, since if you know where the price is going to go, just set the limit order and then set it and forget it, and then you have your stop loss profit target all set, and then you just step away. Essentially, that get rid of all the FOMO and any unnecessary movement of your stop losses. Okay, so now let's jump into exactly, if you're not familiar, what is OTE. So OTE stands for optimal trading entry. Optimal trading entry essentially is a popular ICT or smart money concept, however you view it. Essentially, identify a retracement level. Once you confirm a direction of the level of the price is going to trend towards, usually this price will rebalance to a certain point, will retrace to a certain level before continuing the trend. So usually OTE can be drawn out using the Fib tools. So that is essentially sitting between the 61.8% and 78.6%, so that you can set up within your Fib tool. Those are essentially the OTE zone that you want to set your limit order where your entry at. So why do you use OTE? For me, essentially, these are a high risk reward entry, but to me, essentially, if you know where the price is going, it's not really a high risk. It actually give you a great risk and reward entry, since you have essentially enter at the lowest of the low of the price will retrace back to. So it's closer to your initial, much closer to your stop loss. But at the same time, it gives you a greater reward if you're right. But first, you have to really understand how you can identify the bias, which I have a separate video on that. You need to identify the bias of wherever this leg move is going to be. If it's going to be going up, going down, you need to identify that. If you identify the wrong side of the move, the OT essentially you're entering at max risk. You're in max pain. Okay. So here I kind of highlighted on what worked best for OTE. First, there must be a liquidity sweep, and then they have to follow by a market structure shift. Essentially, by having these two, essentially give you a already confirmation where the price should be going. And then once this two happen, it will return back. So the price will pull back to the OTE zone. So usually, let me draw this out. The price usually, let's say there is a consolidation, right? And then you have the manipulation and then displacement. So here's the manipulation, and here's the displacement leg. And once this displacement, you take this high and this low, and then you will draw your OTE. So it should be around here somewhere for your OTE. Once it traces back to into here, this is where you set your limit order and then expect the continuation. It should never reach this low here, since this should be a protected low, and this is where it will be your stop loss, right? What makes OTE such a great risk and reward is you literally enter at the bottom of the retracement before the actual full legs that will go towards your profit target up here, right? So this makes a very, very high reward in the sense that, let's say there are trader that is entering, let's say, at this order block up here. If you enter here, these are essentially how far you are. Let me use this other one. This is how far you are with your stop loss, right? Versus if you enter here, this is your stop loss. These two will give you a bigger risk versus a smaller risk. But you have to have precise entry, and which is I mainly highlight, you must need to know the bias of the day, right? I have a separate video on that, on how do you determine where the bias. If you read it wrong, let's say for example here, you think you rather the price is going to trend, let's say lower, then they will have issues since you're entering at the max pain here, right? If you shorted, let's say you buy here, and then the actual move is all the way down here, essentially entering the top. You're entering the top, which is not great, and you have max pain, right? Now let's jump in on how I leverage OTE for my entry. So step by step, as we mentioned before, we first must identify a liquidity sweep. So some of these are equal highs, lows, or significant highs with significant low, or even a session time. These are essentially liquidity what we're looking for. within obviously the bias that we have marked out during our in our higher time frame. And then within that, we want to look for a market structure shift for changing state of delivery. Once that happens, we draw a Fibonacci from the impulse leg, so either from the low to high or high to low, vice versa. Depending, you're going for long, we're going short. And then we want to wait for the price to retrace into the OT zone, which is a 61.8 to 78.6% range. And then we enter any confirmation. You can leverage confluence with fair value gap, breaker block, or order block. Essentially, OTE leverage it as a confluence tool along with our the PD arrays that you have, and then just not by a signal itself. If you only leverage OTE, just randomly drawing from any high to any low without identify, the bias on where the price is going, or even looking for liquidity sweep that has already happened or market structure shift, it will make this OTE probability essentially I would say even a gamble. Essentially, is picking a random high, random low, and then just drawing a OTE for a conflict, which is not ideal. So I combine it with a lot of market structure shift and liquidity logic for precise entry. So let's jump into here on an example here. So here we can look, as we mentioned before, these green box are essentially higher time frame that I have marked out that I'm interested in. So these are the higher, I think this is 1 hour higher time frame order block that I want to see the price respecting. So once the price reach down here and then swipe this equal lows down here, what I'm expecting to see is if the price will continue moving down. If not, I expect the price to respect this higher time frame order block. And if it does respect it, it should form a market structure shift, which we did get here. Once the market structure shift is formed, let me draw this out. Over here, we want to draw the OTE from bottom here to up here. So here. So these are essentially the low and the high. I drew my fib using the fib tool. And then you can see here is a 50% in the middle range between these two. And then this is the 61.8 and 78.6% of the retracement level. So I marked it out as the OTE. So their OTE zone I'm looking for. So here, once the price trace back to this 61%, also aligning with the higher time frame order block, this is very, very good confluence and A++ setup that I want to look for. And also there is a fair value gap here. So there is also a fair value gap that is retraced back. So there are multiple stack confluence. This is a very high probability trade. I placed my entry here as a limit order, so it got tapped in at this candle. And then obviously my stop was just down here. It retraced a little bit further, but never past the 78.6%. And I put my my profit target at this interest zone here, and this is my exit. So this is pretty straightforward on what exactly you can look for. Doesn't matter which PD array for your entry. You can stack OTE with essentially any single confluence you have. It just makes your confluence a lot more accurate, and also you know where is the deep retracements is going to be. So let's say you can even put an entry at the 50% over here, right? There is a fair value gap and there's market structure shift that is order block at a lower time frame. You could enter here as your initial entry, and then you can put your remaining order. So like initial size here, and then your remaining sizing position here. You could do that, but usually I just wait for the OTE if it's already so close, and then align with this many confluence. A lot of time the price will retrace back to these high confluence place before continuing the trend. So keep this strategy, leverage the strategy into your trading. I think it will dramatically improve your entry, letting you be more patient and just wait for the price to come towards you instead of trying to get in too early above the 50% or below 50%, depending you're short or long. Essentially, if you know where the price is gonna go, right? You just set a limit order, and that's it. And you know from my trading, if you've seen some of the videos I have short clip I have posted, majority of my entry are limit order. I don't enter a market order. If I already know the price is going to the exact place where I'm gonna go, there's no reason for me just to enter like here. There's no point rendering entering. If I know the price is going up and I know the best place the price is going to retrace towards, for the confluences, I will put my limited order here. There's no reason to be afraid. If you are having anxiety on entering or just FOMO entering, most of the case that you don't have a strategy set up yet. So I would say probably look back on refining your strategy first before even looking into this. Because if you're still stuck in the phase where right now you're going to entering on your position just based on FOMOing, whenever you saw the price going one way, you just put a random market order. You don't know where the market is going. That's essentially that give you that anxiety that you don't know what's the outcome going to be. If you already know where the price is going to be, you already know your risk and your reward, which is your profit target and your stop loss, is already set in stone, right? The only thing is just set a play, and then that's it. You walk away. Either hit your stop or you hit your profit target. Now let's dive in and take a look at our first example here. So this is one of the trade I took on Monday this week. I write a highlighted here. Here are during the pre-market analysis on higher time frame. Here are the 2 interest zone I'm looking at. So I expect to see the price to respect here, and if it's respecting it, I expect to see some sort of market structure shift and then go target towards this high up here during this structure. So here we can see there is a liquidity sweep over here, which that check one of our first criteria. Now the second is I want to see some sort of market structure shift or change in state of delivery. So I want to see some sort of structure shift at this recent high that was created. Market open. So once we see there is a market open, I kind of went past already. Once there is candle close above this high, essentially this validate a market structure shift. Now what I want to do is essentially taking this legs from this low point into this high, and this equivalent essentially give me the OTE zone. So this is this 618 to 786. This will be my OTE zone. So my entry was at here, and then my stop will be at this low. Target at least 2R, so around this high. So I was targeting this high up here. This is the recent high, and then there's additional high up there. But for the sake of purposes, this is my first initial entry, and then I have rest as a runner. So here I technically will have tapped into the entry, and now I let this play out. Here we have a good reaction on the OTE, and then here we go. So already push into my target profit, my initial first target profit, which is here. This give me a 2.2 RR, and then my rest of the entry was profit target was here, so it's roughly 3 RR. So this is a very, very straightforward trade, and very simple on how you can leverage OTE. The setting essentially, I have the 50, and just to something to tie in is you can always scale using the OTE as well. So if you're sometimes it doesn't trace all the way back to OTE, essentially you can enter at the 50. Usually from my trading styles, I typically, let me change this. There's premium discount, so here we go. I usually do not take any price of trading above 50%. I always like to be in the discount zone. I don't want to be trading the premium, at least for bullish scenario, and vice versa. If it's in the bearish scenario, I want to trade in the premium zone, not the discount zone. So I don't usually take any position. So my limit order is always at a 50%, or in this case at the OTE. In this case, my limit order was here at 0.618, and this is a very clean trade. Now let's take a look at a second example here on Wednesday. This is for NQ. So I already marked out the interest zone I'm looking at. So a couple things I'm seeing here. As we go through the top-down analysis, we see there is a liquidity sweep, which fits our first criteria. And then we have a market structure shift here. So once this happened, what we're waiting for essentially is a pullback into the OTE around this interest zone that we're looking for. So here, this is the OTE zone we're looking for, and we want to get some sort of entry up here, and then we can target this draw of liquidity, which is what I'm looking for on the sell side. So I'll let this play out. Okay, so dig a little bit deeper. Okay. So now our OTE zone is around here. This is where we want to look for our entry. Okay, so we got tap in here. So we'll look for an entry. So there is a entry zone within here. So I'll be using this as my entry zone, and my stop will be at this high. And then we'll target. So if you can target this, this will also give you a 2-hour trade, which is great. This is a initial low. It can be your first entry, but the true draw is here. So you can see there is a strong pull up. There's essentially nothing below. I'm expecting the price to pull all the way back down into this significant low over here. So we'll let this play. And you can see the price move very efficient. Once it tap into here, essentially we wicked it, and then the price moved very significantly, respecting OTE without even retracing any deeper, right into our profit targets. I believe on this day the price should trace a little bit deeper from my memory. Yeah. So here, there's also another quick thing to highlight. There is, if you miss this entry or you're looking to scale in, you can also use the OTE. You see how this perfectly aligned with the OTE. You can add in additional contract into here, but obviously for me this wouldn't be the case since the true draw of liquidity is here. I didn't expect the price to go all the way down here to grab this liquidity, and then I think on the right side there are a couple, there's nothing on the right side, on the left side anymore. So I didn't expect the price to pull all the way down to here to grab this liquidity. So here, essentially, once this is completed, I didn't look for any further trade. This is essentially one very good clean trade that you could have taken on Wednesday for NQ. Alright, if you find this video helpful, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll continue posting these educational videos. Hopefully this is helpful for your trading goal, and also make some few adjustment to or add into some of your arsenal for your trading strategy and concept wise. Otherwise, stay safe, happy trading.